What's going on, everybody? I'm Johnny Brook. Welcome back to another Crafted Workshop video. Today we've got part 2 of the maple and steel coffee table build. I'll be welding up the steel bases, getting them finished, and then getting everything attached together and getting the tables buttoned up. So this was a pretty intense build, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and get started. So I built the bases for the coffee tables from 16 gauge 1-inch square tubing and 1/8 inch thick flat bar. So first I broke down the pieces into rough lengths using my metal chop saw. Then I used a technique called gang cutting to cut all the pieces of the same length to size in one pass. So cutting all the pieces at the same time ensures that they end up at the same length, which can be a little difficult to do just by cutting to a marked line. Next, I beveled all the edges of the pieces for welding. I did this using my belt grinder, but you could also use an angle grinder or files if you don't have a belt grinder. So for the welding on this project, I used my Lincoln Electric Power MIG 210 MP and had it set up to run solid core MIG, which I really like. First, I welded 2 of the legs and 1 cross stretcher together, first tacking them in place and then running a full bead. After welding the pieces together, I also ground the welds flat along the way. After getting the 2 halves welded, I then connected them with the other 2 cross stretchers. So this base is a fairly simple cube, and there's a ton of strength because of this design, and it went together pretty easily. For attaching the bases to the top, I used a frame made from 1/8 inch thick flat bar. So I cut miters on each end of the pieces, beveled the edges on the grinder, and then welded the frames together. Let's take a second to talk about the sponsor of this week's video, SawStop. I've had a SawStop table saw in my shop for about 6 months, and I would never go back to another table saw. The added safety and peace of mind while I'm working in my shop alone is really unparalleled. So now, through the end of April 2017, SawStop is offering a free upgrade on new professional cabinet saw purchases. In the US and Canada, each customer who purchases a new professional cabinet saw will receive one of 2 available accessories, the overarm dust collection or the integrated mobile base, each worth $199 US. SawStop saws pretty much never go on sale, so if you've been on the fence, definitely jump on this promotion and you'll get $199 of accessories free of charge. So to learn more, check out the link in the video description below. Once they were together, I ground down the welds and then drilled the mounting holes into the frame before welding the frames to the base. So I drilled the mounting holes slightly oversized to allow for any wood movement. I used 1/4 bolts to attach the bases to the tops and drilled 5/16 inch holes. To weld the frames to the bases, I tacked them into place and then ran full beads on every edge. As you can see, I really need to upgrade my welding table. This wooden table does not work so well when the weld areas get really hot, and the table actually caught on fire a few times, so a metal welding table is definitely in my future. After getting the frame welded to the base, I cleaned off all the mill scale with a flap disc and then a random orbit sander. I only did this because I used a metal patina to color the metal, but if you were just going to paint the metal, you really only need to clean off any dirt and oil and that kind of thing. So speaking of the metal patina, I used a product called Black Magic from Sculpt Nouveau to color the metal bases. So the first step in this process is to clean the metal and remove any grease and dirt. I used a metal degreaser for this and then rinsed off the bases with water. To apply the patina, I sprayed it on pretty heavily using a spray bottle, making sure to cover all the surfaces of the bases, and then let the patina sit for a few minutes. The longer you let the patina sit on the metal, the darker it will become. So once I was satisfied with the color, I rinsed the bases off, making sure to wipe them down to remove any excess patina, and then I let the bases air dry for a few hours making sure they were completely dry. Once they were dry, I sprayed a few coats of satin lacquer to seal them. The final finish is a deep black. It's like a textured look that has a lot more depth and character than a painted finish, and I really love the way it turned out. Once the lacquer dried, I added some plastic feet to the bottom of the bases, and I'll have links to these in the video description. I didn't even know these existed, and they really help to keep the metal from scratching hardwood floors and that kind of thing. So next I centered the base on the bottoms of the tables and marked where I needed to drill the holes. To attach the bases to the tops, I drilled the holes and then threaded them using the Wood Whisperer thread taps that I've used in previous videos. This worked great and was really fast, and the holding power is just really incredible. As you can see, the bolts just thread right in. So next I needed to install the all thread into the tops. The all thread I purchased was sold in 36-inch lengths, so I cut them down using my metal cutting bandsaw, although you could use a hacksaw as well if you don't have one of these bandsaws. I then ground the ends at an angle so that a nut could still thread on and off easily. I used my belt grinder for this, but you could use files or an angle grinder. To attach the all thread, I used a 3/4 inch nut and 3/4 inch flat washer on each end and just tightened them down lightly. Again, this is totally just for show, so no reason to go crazy tightening the nuts. Finally, I added my stamp to the bottom of the tables and then installed the table bases using 1.5" 1/4-20 bolts, a lock washer, and a flat washer. And with the bases attached, the tables were finished. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this two-part build. This was a little bit more of an in-depth one, but I'm really happy with the way they came out. They're basically identical to the room and board pieces that I was kind of inspired by, and really happy with the way they look. So again, if you wanted to keep the budget down on this, you could build this out of big box store Southern Yellow Pine 2x10s and get the wood for probably less than 50 or 60 bucks. So really cool look, obviously very sturdy. I mean, you could literally use these for like a butcher block. These will last for a really long time. So very happy with the way these turned out. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments. Also, if you don't already, go ahead and get subscribed. I put out new project videos like this every Tuesday. Also, I have links in the video description to all the products I used to build these projects. And last, if you want to support me a little further, check me out on Patreon. It's patreon.com/craftedworkshop. Thanks again, guys, and until next time, happy building.